So AI used to sound like a futuristic concept, but not anymore. AI is already woven into our daily routines, often in ways we don't even realize. At least that is true for me. So today we're chatting AI across various industries and sectors and how it's already being used in practical ways, especially in ways that you might not even realize. So, Will, I would love if we could kind of both share some ideas that we each have of ways we've noticed AI being used in the world on a day to day. So I'm going to start with the first one, transportation. Today, I actually had my first ride in a Waymo, but self driving cars obviously use AI. Ride sharing apps like Lyft, Uber can estimate how long it takes a driver to reach a destination, maybe the fastest routes, match riders and drivers. Do you have an idea you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I've got a couple. One that I use most days, I'm sure most other people do, is streaming services like Netflix or Spotify. When you click on someone, you get different recommendations to another person in your family. And that's AI and machine learning doing personalized recommendations based on what you've previously watched, how you rated it, all those types of things. So that's an example of machine learning that's been around. 5, 10 years, Netflix has been around. So yeah.
You know what's funny? I had no idea they were using AI for that.
Yeah. It doesn't cross your mind, does it? But any form of prediction, any form of guessing what you might like on any app, that's all machine learning.
It's wild.
Mhm.
I would also say healthcare in the medical field, like AI powered tools might help speed up analyzing an X-ray or an
Mhm.
MRI.
Mhm.
Maybe even in some cases it could be more accurate than the human eye, which is
Wow.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, which we think is pretty accurate, but imagine, yeah. I mean, we can't even imagine what that looks like, right? Because we can only see with our human eye. So
Do you have any other examples?
yeah, and relating to actually images and looking at someone, facial recognition. So every day, 100 times a day, 50 times a day when I unlock my phone, that's AI. That's looking, analyzing my face, seeing if it's the same face that it's been trained on, and unlocking if so.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
also like to think about at Clerk Chat, actually, we offer an AI feature, and I'd
Mhm.
love to see if we can maybe touch upon a use case where Clerk Chat customers are using AI for something practical also.
Yeah, great question. I mean, one that comes to mind just today is using AI. We call it our AI SMS, so it's AI over text message, to help receptionists at a medical clinic. And so a lot of scheduling, a lot of booking is done over the phone, but sometimes that leads to a waiting list, being on the phone for half an hour just listening to a dial tone. And one solution that we've devised for this is to offer a AI SMS phone number where patients can message in, and instead of having to wait in a calling queue, they instantly get served. And the end goal is often to schedule an appointment. And so the way it works is the user will message, say the appointment, say their location, their insurance, etc. The AI will gather all this information, and then as a safety check, it will tell the receptionist that we've got all the data ready to book. And so we're at that point in time where AI, it's not yet better than humans at everything. And so we've introduced this checking mechanism where it gathers information and flags to the receptionist so they still have the final say, which increases the success rate overall. The AI is not actually doing the scheduling, it's just enabling those receptionists to get more done, free up their time.
And in that case, it's a benefit to the patient, also a benefit to the medical practice. So
Completely.
it's affecting all parties involved almost.
Yeah. And oftentimes when savings like this are thought about, it's just saving time and cutting costs for the medical clinic. But actually improving the patient experience, it improves a lot of things indirectly. So recommendations, word of mouth. My clinic, you can just message and get an appointment instantly. And all of a sudden that has an impact on the number of patients coming, the revenue, all those sorts of things.
Accessibility.
Completely.
So before, one of the examples you shared was facial recognition. A smartphone should resonate for basically everybody because
Mhm.
it's so widely used. And on Monday, just a couple days ago, Apple live streamed its event to share updates about the next generation of iPhone, Apple Watch, AirPods. I breezed through some of it because I really wanted to hear more about Apple Intelligence. And for me, the parts of Apple Intelligence that piqued my interest the most were creating new emojis, the email summaries. I'm notorious for having packed inboxes and not going through and deleting and cleaning it up fast enough, at least for my personal, maybe not work. So I sort of love this idea of being able to skim through. my inbox and very quickly be able to see what's junk, what's not, what I have to respond to. I thought that was really neat. But I was mostly interested in Siri's new capabilities because I actually use Siri almost on a daily basis when I walk the dog. And I use it in a pretty minimal manner, to pause my music, to answer a call. And so I was curious if there would be any additions that I might end up making use of. And they were talking about these personal context capabilities. So I think I'm going to test it out once it becomes
Mm.
available. Did
Okay, cool.
you have any examples that you would be interested in trying?
Yeah, I saw a couple that stood out. One was the prioritize and focus tools, and I kind of use AI to help prioritize and focus me on a daily basis already. So I've got my kind of weekly to-do list at Clerk Chat, and I've got my today's objectives, which grow throughout the day. And sometimes I just need like to talk to someone about it, and AI is super simple. So I often use that to help me prioritize and focus. So using that on my phone would be super cool, and my Mac, I guess, because that's Apple.
Could use it on your Mac, depending on what version you're running.
Yeah, yeah. And then the second one that really interests me is transcription. Just generally in AI, this really interests me because when I've got some type of task that I don't have an answer to yet, for example, the receptionist AI flow, when I was designing that, I had to think about what's the first step, what's the end goal, and what are the steps to get there. And that's not something that I really do on a laptop. It's something that I want to like literally stand up and
I
kind of
was
think
just
it
about
out.
to say, is that like whiteboarding, your version of whiteboarding?
Exactly, yeah. Voice is for me a way of like I talk to myself a lot as well, generally. So, but when I'm doing these sorts of thinking activities where I have to come up with a plan, talking about it really helps. And I would just love to be able to talk to my phone or my laptop. I saw they also had for notifications, instead of just showing the notification, they do a summary. Did you see that?
I don't know that I saw that, but I did see that they prioritize your notifications. So something that's more timely, they would put higher on your phone.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that I thought was super cool. But then I thought the summary, like most notifications that I receive anyway, don't need a summary. It's just like literally like I either want to see the message or the notification. And so in some cases, I feel unless it's like a group chat that I've missed like 100 messages on, but in which case I just open up the group chat. So in some cases, I wonder if it's like, is that actually going to be a useful feature, or is that kind of just AI for AI's sake and putting it in all places?
Actually, it would be awesome if it summarized group chats. I would take that in an
Okay,
instant.
okay. So there we go. So for some using it'd be super useful. For others,
That's the practicality of Apple Intelligence, but in order to run Apple Intelligence on a mobile device, it needs a chip that can handle it. It needs more memory, it needs more bandwidth, and it's got to be energy efficient, right? So Apple has now moved from the A16 Bionic to an A18 chip. They actually specifically said they just totally skipped a chip generation, which I guess would have been the A17 chip. And from what I'm understanding, the neural engine is optimized for running large generative models and machine learning. I think of it this way: we're basically running a computer in our pockets. When I was watching the event and they were showing basically the chip on the screen and all the different pieces of it, kind of like a map, I mean, it
mhm,
really looked like the inside of a computer, like the
mhm.
motherboard or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, wow, this is wild. During the event, there was a section where they were talking about Apple Intelligence, and the speaker specifically said, in quotes, now we're bringing together that personal context with the power of generative models to deliver intelligence that understands you. And we're doing it in a way that protects your privacy. I paused there naturally. Do you know why I paused? Can you guess?
Well, I mean, my guess would be because privacy is such a topical issue with AI, everything in general. Actually, can I just add something there as well?
Of course.
I just going back to what you said about having computer in our pockets. I think that also adds fuel to the fire of like now we've got AI and now we've got a computer in our pockets. But actually, I think that's one of the things that we've had for 5+ years already, but it's not come to our attention. So I just think that plays into the notion that we talked about earlier of AI is new, but actually it's used in all these domains that we didn't even think of. In the same way that we now feel like we've got this computer in our pockets, but really we've had a computer in our pockets for over 5 years.
That was, by the way, part of the intention of the way I chose for us to start this episode, AI has been used for years in so many ways that we don't even realize
Mhm.
because it's not necessarily publicized.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's there doing its thing, but it's not
And again, I
public.
don't disagree. I know that it for sure has been further developed. You know, technology from 5 years ago continued to be developed and is much better now today. So
Mhm.
I'm not taking away from the developments that have happened. I'm just saying that certain aspects of AI have been around for years. And I mean, you know that too.
100%, as has privacy, which is what you were speaking about.
Yeah, that's true. That's another concern. But I think that so many people are so much more focused on it now because between hacks and leaks and data security and this email about this and that email about that, like I don't know where I am and when and who's hearing me and where my data is going. But that's part of why I really stopped here because it was a repetitive phrase several times through this conversation about Apple Intelligence, about protecting your privacy. So there's a few details that I learned that I wanna share with others because it may end up easing any concerns that other people have. So first of
Yeah.
all, Apple Intelligence runs multiple generative models, but it's built by Apple. And then there's something called private cloud compute, which makes sure that your data is never stored or shared with Apple. And then if you're using what's called visual intelligence ability, it's all done privately between on device intelligence and Apple services that never store your images. So here's a question. When they were explaining camera control, and they used an example where you're a student, you're studying for an exam, and you ask ChatGPT for guidance. So maybe you take your phone and you take a picture of a textbook page or something, and then you ask ChatGPT for guidance. And Apple explained, in quotes, you're always in control of when third party tools are used and what information is shared. I
Mhm,
understand they said this because they were talking about ChatGPT, but
mhm.
I didn't really understand what that meant. Do you understand what it means? Or do you think that you could try to explain it in a way that would be helpful to me?
Yeah, so I haven't actually seen this exact example, but what I gather is when AI is performing a task, it can basically call a bunch of different things. So, like you're studying for exam and you want to take a picture of the question, that calls the camera function. Or maybe you're referencing a conversation you had with your mom, and so it gets that from the messages. And what I gather is that these are all classed as third-party tools, and these can only be accessed if the user, the human, explicitly requests it and allows it. So AI won't just go grab those things just because you've asked a question. It needs that direct permission from you to be able to do that, which ensures that you're only sharing the data that you're aware you're sharing. Now, I need to actually check this out and see, use it myself and see how it works. So it's an interesting feature though, where they're looking to give you more control back. I remember in the WWDC conference earlier this year, they talked about the difference between cloud and on device AI and keeping the AI on your device. Therefore, your data stays on the device and doesn't get sent to ChatGPT in the cloud, something like that.
That was a priority for them, right?
Yeah.
Well, William, Apple Intelligence will be available in beta on all iPhone 16 models, iPhone 15 Pro, and iPhone 15 Pro Max. And it's available with the iOS 18 once iOS 18 becomes available, which is supposedly very soon, right?
Mhm.
We'll be able to access it.
Cool. I'm gutted. I've got an iPhone 13, so I'm not getting this until I get a new phone.
Oh, no.
Yeah. My
Well,
Mac will get no. I got a new Mac,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll be able to use it on a different device.
okay, cool, cool. Yeah.
We'll
Cool.
make it happen.
Yeah, Apple, if you're listening.
Apple, if you're listening, send William a device because he's gonna test out Apple Intelligence and give a full report on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We never know. Okay, thanks so much. I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. See ya.